There's nothing more patriotic than taking an expensive ambulance ride to the hospital in the case of an emergency. It's become a very popular joke that if whatever puts you in the ambulance in the first place doesn't kill you, the financial debt that you'll accrue from your hospital stay plus ambulance ride will. That'll throw you 6 feet under, that'll bury you. You're actually looking at a back-to-back ambulance rider champion here. I'm a bit of an aficionado. Back in high school when my lung kept collapsing, I took a spin in an ambulance twice because of it. And my parents obviously care a lot about me, but I could tell both times that ambulance pulled up, their souls left their body. Because getting visited by an ambulance is like getting visited by a money dementor. It just sucks your shit up. The first ambulance ride was one that I couldn't really avoid, but the second one, they actually transported me in an ambulance from one hospital wing to the other, which to this day I still believe is a scam, and my dad will still shake his fist about because I could have just walked from one wing to the other. Like I could have just been transported in like maybe a wheelchair or something, but instead they put me in an ambulance to take me like half a mile. And I'd already been at the hospital for a pretty extended period of time, so it's not like I was, needing an ambulance to get me from point A to point B. I was stable. I could just, with my own power, go from one wing to the other. But they insisted on the ambulance. And in the ambulance, I wasn't even hooked up to any gear or anything. I was just kind of sitting there hanging out for the 3-minute ride. And that was, I believe, $800 to go that far. And the first ambulance ride was like $1,500 or something like that. The average ambulance ride cost in the US is like $400 to $1,200. It has a huge range depending on the state, but it doesn't seem like there's anything like super consistent with it. All that is consistent is how fucking expensive that is. But anyway, I'm getting really sidetracked. What I want to talk about is there was a bike rider in Oregon who actually just got hit by an ambulance, and then that ambulance, after blasting him on the road like it was twisted metal, picked up the bike rider, threw him in the back of the ambulance, transported him to the hospital, and billed him $1,800 for it. Can you even imagine? You're riding your bike, you get hit by an ambulance, and then they charge you $1,800 for the inconvenience of hitting you and bringing you to the hospital for the problem they caused. Galaxy Brain, nefarious scheme. That is a scam that Ed, Edd n Eddy would have run, unironically. I know I use that comparison a lot, but this is actual Ed, Edd n Eddy tier. It's so good. Like, oh, we need jawbreakers. Ed, what do you think we should do? Well, let's go hit Rolf with a hammer and then charge him 25 cents for the Band-Aid. Like, that is basically what this is. I don't think they hit the bike rider on purpose, but even still, they struck the cyclist and then charged them $1,800 for the transportation fee in the ambulance. His name is William Hosch, he's 71, and he was hit by the ambulance in question after its driver made a right turn, fracturing his nose and leaving him with scrapes as well as other injuries across his body. And now he's suing the Columbia River Fire and Rescue Department for nearly $1 million after they sent him an $1,800 bill for the ambulance ride. He claims he was left with permanent injuries and accrued $47,000 in medical expenses so far, with an additional $50,000 anticipated after his visit to the hospital. As they say, the dildo of justice rarely comes lubed, and I'm hoping William gets in there raw. I'm hoping he wins that lawsuit, because that is just some barnacles right there. That's some straight up fucking fish paste. The ambulance hits him and then charges him money for the ride. And it seems like it's not, like, it doesn't seem like they're on the hook for any damages, so he's not owed any money, even though they caused the problem. They are at fault, at least from everything I've seen here. And now he has to go through a tedious, expensive lawsuit in order to get any amount of compensation for an issue they caused. That's so crazy. The lawsuit claims that in 2022, Hosch was traveling in the same direction as an ambulance on his bicycle, and the vehicle tried to make a right turn to another street, and it crashed into him, destroying his bike. The ambulance driver estimated they were going between 2 and 10 miles per hour. Hosch estimated to police that he was going between 5 and 10. Crash left him covered in blood and resulted in prolonged injuries and pain, stiffness, tenderness, discomfort, impaired range of motion, and reduced grip. Now, it's important to remember that this man is 71 years old. So in 2022, we can do the math, he would have been 69 years old. That's not exactly a spring chicken. At that age, getting struck by a large vehicle is absolutely going to do some substantial lasting damage, I would imagine, even if it's not going 30 miles per hour, right? Unless William's got bones made out of adamantium, that's going to lead to some boo-boos. I don't think he's just making up these claims. I don't think he's doing some traditional ambulance chasing, as it's called, where someone fakes an injury after an accident in order to get a payday from it. That's not what this case strikes me as. It seems like he actually does have like a fractured nose and medical expenses that he'd like to be compensated for, considering the problem was caused by the ambulance. It doesn't sound like William was at fault. It doesn't sound like he was driving recklessly or not paying attention. I haven't seen any reports of William, popping a wheelie while giving the middle finger to the ambulance while he was going down the sidewalk and then losing control and crashing into them. So I feel like he's probably in the right here to be upset that he got charged for the ambulance ride and then also had some big medical expenses slapped on top of that. So I do think he's got some big ground to stand on here for this lawsuit. Also, there's this picture from the scene, and it had me giggling because the authorities are looking around like they're trying to locate body parts from William, like they just blew him to pieces and they're trying to locate the remnants. Like, come on, you couldn't at the very least just waive the ambulance fee considering the situation here? Was that really off the table? Now, there is a picture of William Hoche after the accident in a hospital bed, and his face is all bloodied, so he definitely did get injured. Again, this isn't him just like making things up, at least I don't see it that way, and not based on the evidence presented. He mentions that he believed the ambulance was going to keep going straight. It was like going down a hill. He thought it was still going straight, so I'm guessing there wasn't a turn signal, or at the very least William didn't see one. Then the ambulance suddenly turned right, and William was left with no time to react to it to avoid it. But the ambulance driver said he believed he had his turn signal on. Now, whether or not the turn signal was actually on, who really knows? But all I know is this headline was something special. An ambulance hitting a man and then charging him $1,800 to bring him to the hospital. That is unhinged. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's it. See ya.